Yo, what is going on, boys? Today I've got another great video for you guys. Today I'm bringing you guys an advanced masking tutorial. So if you guys didn't know what masking is, I'm going to talk about it here. I'm going to show you guys 3 different masks, 3 different ways to mask, techniques, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to show you guys some things you can do with those masks. So basically what masking is, so what you're doing is you're isolating something in a video frame and you're taking that and you're adding effects only to that. So for example, if you want to mask out just a person, you can put a mask on a person, account for the motion with either keyframes or track masks. We'll talk about that a little bit more, and then you can add effects to just the person, make them all crazy. So you see a lot of people like Bennett doing this recently, a lot of other video editors. It's like one of the most essential things, and it's something that can bring you from really a beginning editor to an advanced editor. So this is something you need to know. Anyways, let's start on our clip right now. I already imported this into After Effects from Premiere using dynamic links. If you guys are just using After Effects, you can just import it into your project bin. So now we have it right here in our timeline, and I actually have 3 scenes in this one video clip. One of him sitting on this rock, and then one of him sitting against the wall. If you guys want to check out the music video for this tutorial I'm using, it'll be linked in the description. I'm working on that also, the full music video, just editing. If you guys are interested in me editing for you, check out the links in the description, check out my email, my website, all that good stuff. But anyways, on the first scene, I'm going to show you guys the first way to mask, and that is the traditional way. It takes the most work, but it's also the most reliable. Okay guys, so once you have your clip selected and you go up here to your toolbar and you select your pen tool, what you're going to want to do is just go and draw whatever you want to mask out. So you can either mask out the people or other objects in the scene. For this example, I'm just going to mask out this rock right here, and then we're going to add some unique effects onto just that rock. I'll go even around his leg like this. Okay, so once you get here, you just click here to create the mask, and you're going to see that it masks out. So we don't want to have this transparent cutout right here. We just want to have this isolated part of the image. So what we're going to do is press M on our keyboard, or just go down through our arrows. It's going to open up our mask effect controls, and what we can do is just go over here to mode and click none for now. Really good tip for you guys. It's a way that you can actually isolate it within the image. Is what you can do is go over here to your first clip, Control C to copy, click off, Control V to paste. So now you're going to have the same exact composition, but this also has a mask. So we're going to press M, and we're going to go down to this mask, and we're just going to delete that. So now we're going to just take the mask layer, drag that up top, and we're going to make this, and we're going to change the blending mode of this to add. So now what we have is we have a background without a mask like this, and we have a background, and we have a layer on top which is just a mask like that. So that is a key step into creating this mask if you want to have something isolated in the image. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to keyframe this just to show you guys the most common way to account for motion. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So if I click page up and page down, I can move frames. And what you're going to see is as the camera moves a little bit, because it's not on a tripod, you're going to see that the mask kind of doesn't go where it's supposed to. So to account for that motion, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our mask options again like this. And we're going to see this thing called mask path right here. So what we're going to do is click this little stopwatch, and this is going to keyframe it. So keyframe is basically every time you move something going down your timeline, it's going to make a little animation that changes it. So I'm going to just show you guys just to explain that better. So I'm going to move a keyframe. And every time I move a keyframe and I want to adjust the mask, say for example the mask is here, we want it to touch this edge, all you have to do is just grab one of these joints and just move it. So sometimes you'll be selecting the whole thing and it'll move like that. I'll click Control Z. If you want to get rid of that, you kind of just have to like click off it, maybe just select this and then select the joint and it'll work like that. So that's how you solve that little issue, and then you just move the joints however you see fit. Like this. This is an easier one for some more advanced stuff, especially with people, counting for like moving arms and stuff like that. This can become a very tedious task. So because of that, that's why I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to show you guys 3 different ways to mask using tracking. But this is basically the most simple way. This is just using keyframes. So as you guys see, every time I move over my frames, so every time I move my frames and I actually move one of these joints, you're going to see one of these little keyframe markers popping up. That means that the animation is actually working. So I'll play this through once I animate this all the way through. Okay, so if you guys see whenever I move back, you're seeing that the keyframes are creating this animation of the mask like this. So now that we have this completely keyframed and completely masked out, the only thing left we can have to do is just add effects onto this. So there's a bunch of different things you guys can do for all this. Just look through any of my tutorials to figure out how to do effects. Some of the most basic is just adding a fill effect to make it change color. Some of the more advanced is using sapphire plugins like I talk about in a lot of my videos. So just for visual purpose of this video, add one of my favorite effects. Emboss, distort, part of the Sapphire distortion plugins. Bennett uses a lot, and all you have to do is just drag that onto the exact mask clip like this. So sometimes, depending on your blending mode, you might see this weird like tiled thing. So all you have to do is just kind of mess around with the blending modes and pick something that fixes that. But you kind of just have to look through, find something that works. So subtract inverted works for this one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mess around with this a little bit more, make it a little bit more realistic looking. So we're going to change the mask feather and make that about 15 just to make it blend better. And what we're also going to do is we're going to change the emboss of this just to make it look like it's not all blobby and kind of more rock like, so it blends better. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this right here, Ripple in Reality, and click load, and as you can see, this kind of looks a lot better in my opinion. What I could even do is I could keyframe it to make it kind of different and kind of like pulsate as we move along. So in my effect controls right here, I'm just going to come over to distort amount, keyframe that, and then I'm going to move about here, make it 0, move about here, make it 2, and then move about here and make it 1. So now as we move along, it's going to create this like trippy looking kind of distortion animation on the rock itself. Okay guys, so now we're going to move on to our next clip. What I'm going to do just to get rid of this original mask, I'm just going to click Control-Shift-D on this entire layer and then just delete this whole thing. So now there's only a mask on this first clip. Now we can start working on this second clip right here, which is our main background layer. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys a second kind of mask that you can use just through the computer, and this is called a roto brush. And what it does is basically you come over here to this tool, you dry around it, and you let the computer generate what it thinks the background should be, and then it eliminates the background. So for example, if you're stuck on anything, as always, Twitter, comment section, Instagram messages, best way to talk to me. I respond to everyone as best as I can. But anyways, let me show you guys what I'm talking about for this second one. So for this second form of masking, you actually have to work in a layer, kind of like with my animation tutorial. So let me just show you guys what that means. So come over here to your layer right here and double click it. And then if it says composition here, so we're just going to double click that again, and now it says layer. So once it says layer, that means you're doing the right thing. And we're going to come over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick a good spot where we would like to roto brush this, and we're going to come over here to the roto brush tool, select it, and we're just going to draw kind of in the lines of what we'd like to roto brush like this. So this isn't the most accurate looking mask, which you'll see in a second, but it definitely is the most time saving mask, I'd like to say, because you really don't have to do that much work. So it looks really cool. So if you're kind of looking for that choppy feel, but you just want to kind of get the overall feel of it and don't want to do the keyframes, then this is a very good tool to keep in mind. To be able to account for the motion, sometimes whenever you guys are working in different workspaces, you might have your screen like this. Sometimes if you're looking for something or you can't find something in one of my tutorials, the reason why it's like that is because your workspaces might be covering it. So if you come over here to these dividers and drag it open, you'll see this button right here, freeze. So make sure that's showing. We're also going to drag this down and then just use Control-Alt and our mouse to zoom in like this. This right here, this picks how much of the frame you'd like to freeze. So we're just going to freeze it to about right here. Once you have this dragged to the right time you'd like, just come over here and click freeze. And you're going to see that it's going to freeze these frames, and the computer is going to do the work for you. Cut this out, isolate it from the background. So I'm going to let this load through, and then I'll show you guys the ending result. Okay guys, so once that roto brush is done, make sure you exit out of that layer right here and just come back into your original link composition or composition, whatever you'd like to call it, the main project you're working on, and you're going to see the result right here. So what I like doing with my rotoscope stuff is I'll put some weird trippy background behind it. So I reference this a lot in my videos. If you guys want some just quick clips, Giphy.com always has some cool stuff. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to drag that underneath this layer right here, and then I'm going to resize it just to fit the screen like that. So that's another cool little unique effect that you can do. If you guys want to keep the original background and just change the effects on this, like I said, you can do the thing you did with the original clip I showed you in the first masking thing, and you can just change the mode of the mask itself to, for example, add or anything that's going to fit in with the background. So for the third form of masking, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the pen tool again, and this time We're going to do is kind of similar to the first one, but it saves a little bit more time. So for this example, I'm just going to do it on the eyes. It works very well on eyes, but you can do it on other stuff as well. And what we're going to do is come in, zoom in here, and I'm going to make a circular mask like this around the eye, like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a track mask. So it's very simple to do this. Make sure you click M to just open up your mask options right here, and now all you have to do is right click on this mask and click track mask. So now the computer is going to do the work for you. You can choose your method, position, scale, and rotation is usually what I do, face tracking, stuff like that. But this is the one I usually do, and then click play. Now the computer is going to do the work for you. It's going to track the eye, so you don't have to do any of those keyframes. So let me show you another thing. If something goes in front of the mask like this, it might screw it up. So for example, if he moved his hand a little bit up more, the mask probably would have been screwed up. You'd have to go into the options of the mask and change around the keyframes of the motion. So keep in mind that is a limitation of this, but if you're trying to do something simple where it can work, this is definitely something that you can use. So now once we're back in our composition, if we select our mask and I just move our frames, you'll see that the mask is moving on itself just because of that track mask already adding the keyframes, which is very nice, very effective. And now we can add a effect just onto the eye. So what we're going to do is actually make another duplication of this just to keep the background normal. We're going to go in and we're going to delete the mask on the duplication just by clicking delete. Then we're going to open up our mask layer, which should be on top, and just open up our masks. And now what we can do, now that we have this added on top, so what we're going to do onto this is actually add the glowing eye effect, which I talked about in one of my past tutorials. Definitely go check that out if you guys are more interested. So we're just going to come up here and we're going to add a fill effect. Drag that onto our masked clip. Okay guys, so once we've added our fill effect, I'll turn that on. What we're going to do is just add our mask and put it on something that we'd like, and then of course having this in the background will create the background there just so the mask isn't cutting away everything. So that's why we make our duplications, like I've said earlier. So now we've had that filled in eye, we're just going to add a little bit of a feather, just so we can actually make that blend in a little bit more. And I'm even going to change the mask expansion, just make it a little bit smaller. Now what we're going to do is add trapcode shine, like I've talked about in that thing, just to get that cool glowing ray beam coming out of the eyes. So look up that effect if you guys are more interested in that. Then we're going to go and boost the light for shine. Okay guys, so I've added that trapcode shine just to get that kind of like ray beam coming out of the eyes, just to get that cool little effect. But that's just another thing that you guys can see done through masking. So in reality, this is a very basic tutorial, but it's helping you create some really cool advanced effects. So I want you guys to take away from this, learn the basics of how to do this, then take that knowledge to create a whole new vast array of effects, something that's unique, something that looks so cool. Masking is really like the key to be able to do this. You can do so much more with masking out certain things, adding effects to them, and it shows the difference between a beginner and somebody that's advanced. So take what I've shown you and use this for your videos. As always, I always recommend not to just copy exactly what I say, but use the techniques, add your own spin to it, make your own style, make something very, very unique, cool looking, and I guarantee you that people will see your work, they will want to hire you, and you'll be successful in doing the stuff that you do, and you'll create a very cool result. Anyways guys, thank you for watching this video. As always, leave anything you'd like to see in the comment section below. I've got ASAP Rocky Trippy music video tutorial part 2 coming soon, answering a lot of questions from the LSD music video, a lot of other cool effects that you guys have been asking for. I've gained like 800 subs like every day for the past 2 days, which is the biggest growth I've ever seen on my channel. So I love every single one of you guys for that. I'm going to keep putting out content you guys want to see, keep growing this channel, keep building our community. But anyways guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.